Hello and welcome to the first of our national election debates. This is an initiative here at Times Now which we hope we will continue right up to the general elections, up to voting, and hopefully the debates we have here will have a direct impact on the way people vote and the way people think. Now, what are these national election debates? The idea of these debates is to pick up one issue, a pressing issue, an important issue, an issue that is relevant to you, an issue that is relevant to the Indian voter, an issue that will impact the way that you vote. These debates, we hope, will provide an opportunity to ensure that there is as much as possible a direct sense of clarity on the positions of the principal players in our national political scene. We here at Times Now will make sure that in the course of our national election debates, both of India's principal parties, and I know this can be controversial in today's day and age, but the BJP and the Congress are present in every debate, and the presence of the other parties and other players will be issue-specific. Over the last 6 months, there have been several talking points where, there has been a constant debate on what really is the subject that people will cast their vote on. Before I tell you the subject for our first of our national election debates, I first want a round of applause from the audience for our panelists here today. Thank you very much. And I will just introduce them. These are men of, they have long years of experience, and they are not short of aggression when it counts. 2 points here as we start our first of our national election debates. And I repeat this, the views expressed here are those of the political parties they represent. They cannot be called later to be individual positions because the representatives here are all authorized or appointed by their political parties to speak on this very important issue. Secondly, Times Now will ensure to have as much as possible plurality and balance in points of view which are integral to this debate and as far as possible in the representation of our panelists. We will give full opportunity for everyone to have their say. Ladies and gentlemen, our first national election debate is on the very important issue of corruption. And our subject for the first national election debate is this. If corruption is the #1 issue in this election, is the UPA on the back foot? Firstly, I want, even before I introduce our panelists, I want a show of hands. If corruption is the #1 issue in this election, is the UPA on the back foot? How many of you agree with that? That's a large number. Not all, but a large number. Thank you. So Mr. Anand Sharma has a tough job on his hands. I want to introduce our very eminent panelists who are here with us today. From my extreme right, Mr. Sitaram Yechuri, participating in the first national election debate, a familiar face, political veteran. He joined the Communist Party of India, Marxist, in 1975, arrested during the emergency, joined the Central Committee of the party at a very young age, if I'm not mistaken, in 1984, was elected again at a very young age to the top levels of the CPM Politburo in 1992. Today, part of the party's parliamentary group and has been representing the party in Parliament in the Rajya Sabha. Sitaram Yechuri, thank you for joining us. A round of applause. Representing the views of the left, very integral in our national politics. To his left, not ideologically, only physically, is Mr. Anand Sharma, who is now a Union Cabinet Minister in charge of the very important portfolios of commerce and industry and textiles. As a member of the Rajya Sabha, has had a very long association with politics in the Congress. He was one of the founder members of the NSUI. He was president of the Youth Congress in 1985, had a very successful stint when he was appointed to the Foreign Affairs Ministry in 2006, held the key portfolio of information and broadcasting in October 2008, and has been in charge of the Commerce Ministry since 2009, is one of the senior-most members of the Union Cabinet, and still an upcoming face in the Congress Party. Anand Sharma, it's a pleasure to see you on an election debate today. Thank you for coming. Thank you very much indeed. And to my left, you may have seen him on many of our News Hour debates. I would say that he's one of the most aggressive faces that one has in Indian politics, at least on television. Mr. Piyush Goyal is a chartered accountant by profession. He's a BJP MP in the Rajya Sabha. Part of the young brigade of the BJP, he is also a member of the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Finance and is the national treasurer of the Bharatiya Janata Party as well. So at a young age, a young achiever in the BJP, Piyush Goyal, thank you very much. Thank you for participating today. Now, format is our format is actually very simple, and I'll just explain it to you briefly. We give 2 minutes as introductory comments, and we'll allow 2 interjections after that. Please do not interrupt the first or second or third speaker while they are in flow in the introductory comments, unless you feel they've made a factual mistake. If they made a factual mistake at any point of time in the debate, you say fact check, and we'll interrupt the debate. We'll have a show of hands in the middle and towards the end of the debate. The challenge for Mr. Anand Sharma is really in an audience which feels that you probably will be on the back foot on the issue of corruption. I think it is only correct on my part, Mr. Anand Sharma, for me to ask you to open the debate with your introductory comments on the subject. If corruption is issue number 1 in the election, is the UPN, your party, on the back foot? Mr. Sharma.
Well, the fact is, Arnab, that for the last few years, we have a shrill and very negative narrative in the country. A narrative which is targeting politically the government of the day, creating a perception as if every decision that has been taken is wrong, every intent is nullified, and those in the government are not connected with the aspirations of the people, their concerns or their anger. I would say, with all respect, it is partisan politics, it is a partisan narrative, and the truth is otherwise. It's not a question of being on the front foot or the back foot. We have all played cricket, and I was good at that on the front foot. But I can tell you one thing, that you have to be holistic in your approach, not be selective, not be carried away by words or decibels, but to look much deeper in the history of this country, how societies have evolved, how economies have evolved, developed, and what kind of challenges this country has faced and how the systems have been put in place. You have to look at the architecture. Architecture, A, which responds. There's angst amongst our people, particularly amongst our youth, and we are conscious of that. And why? It is about the deliverance, about the public services, the interface with the government, whether you need a driving license, a passport, whether you want to create a bank account, whether you want to pay your electricity bill, whether you want to get a good job, a good admission in an institute. When you see that you are not getting your right, when you see that there is corruption, when you see that those who should be more responsive and receptive are not, there is bound to be anger. And that is the anger which India is witnessing. My fundamental question is, has the government, which is chosen by the people, been responsive? Has the government been proactive in putting in places both transparency and accountability? The answer is yes. Whether the government is empowering the people, the answer is yes. Therefore, it is important that when we analyze this, we look at all these aspects, that what has been the response, what has been the legislative action of the government, what has been the executive action in this noise that has been lost.
Well, you don't blame yourself at all, Mr. Sharma?
Well, I will say that when I said that in every country, in every society, in every economy, you learn as you grow, as you move on. We have learned over a period of time. Don't forget that the Prevention of Corruption Act, when it was enacted, when it was amended, when it has been re-amended, when originally corruption as such was part of Indian Penal Code. It was taken out and a separate act was there. Systems have been put in place from CBI, more functional autonomy, the Central Vigilance Commission, the Comptroller and Auditor General, a free press, a free judiciary. Now when it comes to blame, I would blame myself or the government if there has been a perceived or alleged act of commission or omission. If there has been an allegation of corruption, has there been an action? The answer is yes, and a very firm yes. Nobody has been spared. Well, is there a rule of law? We are a rule-based and rule-governed country, and the due processes of law have been set in motion without fail.
With respect, I completely disagree with you, but I am not allowed at this stage to be participating in the debate. One of the rules is that I will not involve myself in the debate during introductory comments. Rebuts from any of our panelists who'd like to go first.
At least one quick one.
No, do you have
senior to me.
Okay, specific rebuts to Anand Sharma?
After you.
Okay. My humble submission was only small. I hope 67 years after independence, particularly having ruled the nation for 55 years out of that, you will grow out of school and into college and maybe graduate from college because the learning period is too long. No, you did talk about learning, but I think...
What's your question? If I take away the sarcasm, may I request you to come straight to your question?
The question basically, sir, is
Mr. Sharma.
You have tried to divorce yourself from the actual corruption into the action you took on corruption or the acts you passed to prevent corruption in the future. I think what the public is really concerned about is the very fact that under the watch of your government, particularly in the last 10 years, the amount of scams, the number of scams, and the real value of loss to the national exchequer has exceeded all historical
I'll have to respond to
and that causes agony.
I just want to say one thing. There's a 45-second limit on the question itself.
Let me be very clear on that.
Yeah.
This is competitive sensationalization and exaggeration. When you say that we have not learnt, you came in with much wisdom and were there for 6 years. Let the country know what you did. When you had a party president caught with a hand in the till, when you had your ministers caught red-handed, you are not saying that what action your government had taken, including when it comes to the coffin scam after the Kargil. So your BJP has double standards and
let him complete his reply.
George Fernandez has been acquitted by
hypocrisy and double standards.
Mr. Goyal,
Number two,
let him reply.
It's not a question of loss to the state exchequer that people will determine, and I hope the audience will ask us this question. One is a presumptive loss theory. Second is, what is the truth? What is the ground reality? We have created a situation where an entire sector has been destroyed by the presumptive loss. As a result, 2 auctions have failed because your auction prices, reserved price is 249 times higher than Germany and more than 800 times higher than the spectrum auction price of Singapore. Now, which is the loss to the exchequer? Who is to determine? I know that Piyush is a chartered accountant, but don't tell me that you have done your accounting and homework.
Well, I think today the Congress party has come prepared to turn on the aggression on this one. 1 minute, 1 minute. As I said always, the audience participates and the applause that goes here at this point of time on the national election debate, 7 minutes into the debate is for the quality of the argument, if I am not mistaken. I will allow a second counter question here, and I am very tempted, Mr. Sharma, having met you on a debate after a very long time, to cross swords with you.
No.
But I think we'll leave this duel for a little later. The second counter question Sitaram Yechuri had for you, to your right. Mr. Yechuri.
Well, I'll reserve my other comments on what he had to say when I make my introductory remarks. But one question I have, since you wanted us to ask the question directly.
Yep.
But most of the actions that you have been speaking about that the Congress party or let's say the UPA government took when acts of omission and commission have been pointed out were all actions that were taken very, very reluctantly. We had lost one entire session of the parliament because you refused to constitute a joint parliamentary committee to probe into the 2G scam.
Right.
And it's only reluctantly forced by the unity of the opposition and the people's demand that you finally agreed. So therefore, your position that you have shown great alacrity in terms of taking action is factually incorrect. And you have done it only under public pressure, but not otherwise. Otherwise, the effort was to cover up the whole issue. And that is a fact.
Right,
No,
Mr. Sharma.
that's not true. When you have a system, when you have Arnab Goswamis, when you have 740 TV channels, when you have a very aggressive media, that too engaged in its own competition.
An independent media, Mr. Sharma.
Who gets the viewership more? An independent. And the judiciary, then there is no question of a cover-up. But you cannot just, the first whisper, hang somebody. You cannot prejudge. You have to go by the due processes. And what I am saying,
fact check is allowed, please. Fact check is allowed.
Yes. Remember, it was not the first whisper. It was only when the CAG report was made public, it was tabled in the parliament that the demand for a JPC into the 2G scam arose. So it was not the first whisper. It was a constitutional authority that showed 1,76,000 crores of rupees has been siphoned off in this scam.
Well, thank you.
Right, wrong, you accept,
thank you.
disagree. That's a different thing. It's not a whisper.
Let me also tell you, Sita, you are a veteran parliamentarian, so am I. Let's be very clear about it. A CAG report is only a CAG report.
Correct.
The concerned departments have to respond. It's meant to be not leaked to the public and then given to Parliament. It is the Parliament then which decides what action to
Again,
take.
fact check.
I'm sorry.
Again, fact check.
No, fact check is allowed. Fact check is allowed.
Fact check.
I allow the fact check.
There are three stages of the CAG report. First report, you send a questionnaire. The ministry replies. Second report, you give it to the ministry for answers. They reply. Third report is the final one that is tabled on the Parliament. This was the final report we are talking of, not the initial report where the ministry had to give it. So it's a final report.
The minister has a chance to have a final reply.
No,
Yes,
I'll
please,
have
go
to
ahead.
give the reply. The final report ignored the government response.
That may be.
The final report did not reflect the factual truth. No, allow me. Third thing, which is very important, the collective wisdom, if I may say, and the subsequent judicial overreach, where we even saw the highest court of the land appointing a public prosecutor.
Yes.
When you are talking of a fair trial, we had a situation where presumptive loss theory of 1,76,000 crores. Now today, who will take responsibility for the painful economic consequences, the entire telecom sector, where you have the cheapest mobile rates in the world, two auctions subsequently, that wisdom which the government did not accept, that this was the loss to the exchequer. There's a policy which had been in place for long. It was not a policy which was put in place by the UPA government. Let me correct it. Therefore, after that, there is nobody who is coming for the bidding. I said so that your price, reserve price today, thanks to the wisdom of these people, is 849 times higher than Singapore. Let those who are responsible for this be given the mandate by the country. Let them preside over an auction and recover this loss to the exchequer.
Well, Mr. Sharma, we just heard the Prime Minister last week say that in any case, regardless of whether scams have happened or not, they got re-elected, and presumably, therefore, your argument is that scams
You're
don't matter.
asking me. I'm representing the Congress, and I'm speaking now.
And I'm just saying this to you. I'm just very tempted to break my own rule at this stage and say that we can argue about the exact amount of loss, whether it was in lakhs or whether it was in crores, but it cannot be denied, Mr. Sharma, that there was corruption. There was corruption.
Shall we give it to the courts who are still trying?
And let me tell you what the court said in that case. The court said that
what happened... Have they given the final verdict?
Well, the court said while...
Don't prejudge.
The court said while cancelling the 122 licenses, I will never prejudge nor judge. Mr. Sharma, it said that what happened was, quote, wholly arbitrary, capricious, and contrary to public interest, apart from being violative of the doctrine of equality.
Then where there's need of a trial then?
Well, this is
after that, there should not be any trial.
That was what
if at the highest level this is said, if one of you is accused of something, rightly or wrongly, and if the final verdict is announced, you have, why should you go through the appellate processes which are there under the Constitution?
Well, that was
a right of any citizen. Second thing is, I'm conceding as a government, I'll be more than happy as a citizen of the Republic of India that those who have calculated this fancy figure, we should appoint them as a nation, as an authority to auction, recover that. Original, without any interest. Please recover that 1,76,000.
I see here today that...
Persuade people to go for the auction. That's not the job of a government.
Mr. Sharma is angry with the opposition?
I'm not angry with anyone. I'm just stating the truth.
Mr. Sharma is angry with the...
He's only angry with himself.
Mr. Sharma is angry
for his government, for his government not implementing his very good suggestion.
Mr. Sharma is angry.
This 1,76,000.
Mr. Sharma is angry.
Recover. If that is the correct figure, we give you the authority.
Mr. Sharma is angry with the media, and Mr. Sharma is angry with the judiciary. A second speaker here today, and I think that this debate really today has opened up quicker than I would have thought. Our second speaker today will be Mr. Sitaram Yechuri of the CPIM, Politburo member of the CPIM.
Well, I must say that you began this debate by posing the question very provocatively, whether the UPA and the Congress are on the back foot on the issue of corruption. Mr. Anand Sharma has admitted that he is a good front foot batsman and therefore he is bad on the back foot, and that he is shown by his opening comments that he is rather bad on the back foot. So we know where to get you out now, and that is thanks for that confession. But if you're discussing corruption, I would say that to put the issue in a larger perspective and to have a deeper discussion, I think we have to accept the reality that corruption has two aspects to it. One is the question of morality. One is being dishonest, patently wrong, and that is something all of us will have to work to try and root it out from society. I mean, that is something which my generation went through we used to go through things called the non-detailed text in our English course. I don't know if your generation is today, familiar with that. We used to have short stories in that. And one of the short stories in the age-old times, a king asked, wanting to test the morality of his people, he asked everybody to bring a lota of milk and to put it in a huge canister. And the end of the day, he suddenly found, because everybody thought that others will put milk, so let me take a lota of water. So when end of the day, he opened the big canister and found that it was full of water and not a drop of milk. So these have come down since ages. I mean, there are problems of morality, and that is something all of us as a society will have to get rid of, and their political parties have to take the lead. That is one aspect. There's another issue of corruption which has been eating our heads for the last decade or more, in fact. That is systemic corruption. Corruption that occurs because of the systemic faults that you have. And much of these systemic faults are deliberately brought into the system so that you create avenues for corruption. You had corruption of the nature of the license Raj regime, but what you have here are international tenders, PPP projects, who is awarded them, how they are awarded, how these decisions are taken. All of them open up new avenues, and that is exactly the category in which you will find the coal allocation scam, you will find the spectrum scam, you will find all the other scams that have come in. So therefore, unless you rectify the system and focus your attention also on the reforms that you are following, I don't think this sort of corruption can really be tackled. Right. And on that score, the final point I want to make, on that score, I think there's very little to choose between the BJP and the Congress. The reason I'm saying the 6 years that the NDA government was there was also the period when you had a lot of this. In fact, the telecom scam actually goes back to that period. Yeah. So you have a sort of, when we see in the parliament, when most of the discussions are not allowed, I had the occasion to say that there's sort of a match fixing going on between the two of them. Yeah. And poor Shri has been caught. I mean, if he's guilty, he should be caught. That's okay. But the actual political match fixing is going on here when you don't want the systemic faults to come out. Let's plug those systemic faults. That is the root cause of the present day corruption, and that is important.
I wonder whether when you were very actively supporting Mr. Anand Sharma when he was foreign minister. In fact, you were part of the government. I wonder whether that was. I wonder whether the
scam occurred with them supporting.
I'm allowed to complete. I'm allowed to watch this scam occur. I am allowed to complete.
This audience is young.
I am allowed to complete. I wonder whether when you were supporting them, that was spot fixing.
Mr. I'll just tell you. I'll just tell you, but at the outset, I mean, with your permission, I would like to, I'm actually honored that I had the occasion to actually make Arnab say, please let me complete. And for a change, I mean, that's a wonderful achievement. But let me tell you, the 4 years that we extended support to the UPA 1 government, the time when we were important players in forming the UPA itself post-election in 2004, in those 4 years, not a single scam.
Fact check. I have a fact check, and so does. Okay, we have a fact check.
I can give you n number of fact checks on this. Yeah. All these scams that we saw in UPA 2 surfacing have actually occurred during UPA 1 when you were. Let me complete my fact check. When you were supporting this government until 2008. So the coal block, major portion of the allocations, 2006, 7, 8, 9. Telecom, the licenses were allotted while you were supporting the government in 2008. In Antrix, it was while you were supporting the government that spectrum was given to Devas. But I can list out a whole list of scams here.
No. I have a...
Okay, Mr. Piyush Goyal, you have your turn. Yes.
I have a printed list here of all the scams that you have referred to. All of them originate when your NDA government was there.
Kindly
when your NDA government, I'll tell you. Please listen.
Let him complete. You must let him complete.
No, hang on. Absolutely. The telecom scam, when it started with a thing called the regime change, when from the license fee you shifted to sharing of the revenue. That was done under the NDA government.
But which was no scam.
That is from then. From then on, the question of auctioning of licenses began.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it was a license fee that people had to pay. You changed that. And that is why when the 2G spectrum, when the 2G spectrum, JPC was to investigate, when you said we'll go back to 1998, from there onwards, that was scuttled, and therefore you had a report which is not a report of the JPC. Number two, coal block allocations. The coal block allocations of this nature started under the NDA regime.
I'm sorry, again,
and again.
Fact check.
No, don't.
Okay. That started in 93.
Let me complete. But in the first 4 years of UPA 1, we had put them under control. And they lost that control the moment they abandoned the left support. They lost that.
There was a person called Mr. No, fact check. Fact check.
The date.
I have a fact check.
Let's hear the date the licenses were issued.
I have a fact check.
Let's hear the date the coal blocks which are under CBI investigation.
Can I also
6,
be allowed?
7, 8, how many coal blocks? Shall I tell you?
Can I be allowed? Come on, gentlemen. Come on, gentlemen. Can I be allowed the luxurious indulgence of a fact check?
Absolutely.
In 2005. By the way, I'm sorry for taking your time. Mr. Anand Sharma, it's your turn to respond. There's a person called Sitaram Yechuri.
Well, I still happen to be here.
I have no doubt. But it's the same Sitaram Yechuri who says all this also said absolutely nothing about Natwar Singh when he was forced to resign under allegations, serious allegations about in the Volcker report. Not once, Mr. Sitaram Yechuri, did you say. In fact, you said, I have nothing to say. It's for the Congress party to decide. Because Natwar Singh was a Congress office bearer at the time of this deal. Now, you know what I'm talking about, Mr. Sitaram Yechuri. The Volcker report, December 2005, your party was refused to demand Natwar Singh's resignation. The general view was that because you sort of ideologically agreed with him, you went soft.
The point is that the Volcker report came out in the time of towards the last quarter of 2005.
Yeah.
When I was a member of the Indian delegation to the United Nations General Assembly. And that was the 60th anniversary of the United Nations. And when we were there, that is when the Volcker report came public. And I'm on record for saying it from New York, from the United Nations headquarters, that if the veracity of this report is correct, then Mr. Natwar Singh, who did this?
I'm only...
No, hang on.
I'm only saying this that because you demand...
Who did this as an office bearer of the Congress party?
Okay.
This pertains to the period when he was an office bearer. He became a minister subsequently.
No, I'm just saying...
But today, when it was made public, that should be, if investigated, he should not continue.
Mr. Yechuri, I'm only saying that there's a Sitaram Yechuri who demands Pawan Kumar Bansal's resignation. There's a Sitaram Yechuri who demands Ashwini Kumar's resignation.
Absolutely.
There's a Sitaram Yechuri who demands Kalmadi's resignation.
Everybody is
corrupt. But there is also a Sitaram Yechuri.
Everybody corrupt.
There's also a Sitaram Yechuri who did not demand Natwar Singh's resignation.
No, I demanded Yedurappa's resignation.
Well, I'm just making a point as a fact. Question is coming to you from Anand Sharma next.
I did on the floor of the House. Please check the Parliament records.
You see, irrespective of what Arnab has said and what Sita said in 2005 November, whatever the subsequent events, the fact of the matter is that I moved over to the South Bloc and stepped in and given the responsibility as the foreign minister. So I'm not commenting on the rest what happened.
Yeah, but you can comment on the other things.
No, but what I do want to say to Sita, that A are the issues of scams, which in his interjection, Mr. Piyush Goyal has also referred to, and I'll wait for the learned audience, our young people, our sons and daughters, to ask us this question so that I can respond adequately, not to a partisan, provocative observation. Secondly, when it comes to the neoliberalism, there's one theory. When economies have developed, if you go by what happened in the post-industrial revolution, the first, the second came in the United States with the mass assembly lines being put in place. And later on, when electricity was inducted for industrial production as well as assimilation of technologies, there have been issues which we are deliberating today, allegations, frauds, company frauds, and the systems were put in place. There was a time in the capitalist world, as it was evolving, when the business people were referred to even as robber barons, when there were kind of profits which were made which were unacceptable to the people, and the checks were put in place. In India, the checks have been put in place much faster when it comes to our emergence on the global scene. What Sita said about the observation that this is happening because of the ideological approach of neoliberal approach, you live in a world which is globalized, which is interconnected, which is interdependent. But my problem with Sita is that they have ideological blinkers. They want to remain frozen and insulated from the rest of the world. We want to connect to the world and to be a leader in the 21st century.
Anand. That's not a question.
No, that is what your approach is.
Point, I'll answer that. My point is, it's not an ideological issue I'm talking about.
Of course.
I'm talking of a systemic issue. If you remember the word I used, that corruption has two aspects. One is the question of morality. The other is the question of a systemic corruption. Now, the point is, you have given instances of post-industrial revolution, etc., etc. Yes, those can be added upon, multiplied. They're numerous. But systems have learned from that and put in regulatory mechanisms. When you have learned from them, so to say, I think wrongly learned, that's my opinion, that we may differ on that, on ideological issues, as you say. But the question is, if you learned reforms from them, why didn't you learn also this systemic regulatory institutions along with that? And that is the point. By not doing that, you have promoted and you are encouraging even today the growth of what is called crony capitalism, which can lead only to corruption, because things happen because of sweetheart deals. Somebody knows you and therefore he gets a contract, and somebody gives you something, therefore he gets a contract, and that is the systemic thing.
You use the word, you use the word dishonest. Now, let's say, be very clear. Are you saying that Mr. Anand Sharma and the cabinet he represents was deliberately dishonest? Because what he's saying is
I'm not
that one second. His argument is that corruption happened because there were no systems. And systems are being created. Are you saying they deliberately did not create systems in order to allow corruption and allow scams? If you're saying so, be specific, Mr. Yechuri.
Yeah, I am as specific as it can be. They have borrowed the Western experience.
He has a fact check.
No.
I have a fact check now.
What is the fact check?
Let me tell you.
I have to really.
No.
This is like the point of order in Parliament.
Exactly. Well, no, you have to quote the rule now, Anand. The rule number.
The first fact check is that when we were seeing certain sectors evolving, including telecom, electricity, and coal sector now, which are under discussion, did the government move? Yes. Did the government move the cabinet to take a decision? The answer is yes. Regulators were appointed. There is a telecom regulator in place. There is a central electricity regulatory commission in place. There is the government has introduced the bill to appoint a coal regulatory authority.
So it's not. We move on.
Regulators are very much there. So you cannot say that the government did not act.
Let me tell you, the coal scam. We are moving on to the BJP now. I just want to say one thing. Forget
the regulators followed the reforms. That is the problem.
There was
only
Mr. Sharma and Mr. Yechuri. Forget the CAG. As far as the coal scam was concerned, the Supreme Court appointed panel. The parliamentary panel found irregularities. Your government was accused of abusing power and handing out natural resources to a few chosen, fortunate ones, without following a transparent system. That's why it's called a scam. I'm quoting the Parliamentary Standing Committee report on coal. You can completely respond to me, but after the BJP's introductory comments.
No, but I'll have to.
Yes. Yeah, I'm sure you will, and I'll give you the time to. Piyush Goyal, on the subject of the debate today, that if corruption is the #1 issue, is the UPA on the back foot, Congress on the back foot. Your 2 minutes starts now.
Very clearly, the Congress-led UPA is on the back foot on this issue. But first of all, let me compliment you, Arnab, for being one of the torch bearers of this campaign against corruption. And I must compliment your young audience, who's today quite awakened about this issue. Takes time out to come here, listen to your debates. Compliments to all of you.
Thank you.
And I believe we can all make a difference going forward.
Yes, we can.
There's light at the end of the tunnel. But broadly, taking forward from what Sitaram said, I bracket corruption into 3 buckets.
Yes.
It could be financial, it could be moral, and it could be political. And I think the UPA has breached the frontiers on all 3. Look at the financial corruption. It could be speed money, that's the speed and greed, or it could be the inefficiency. Look at why did all these scams take place, whether it was coal, whether it was Devas, the Tatra trucks you're forgetting, the more recent Augusta Westland, and we can go on and on and on. there was greed, and there was the desire of some people to speed up the process, and a combination of speed and greed led to the financial impropriety in the process. There was also inefficiency which comes under financial corruption. The fact that projects are delayed for years on end. The own government admits that 7 lakh crores of projects are not being cleared because 2 consecutive environment ministers refused to clear projects. For what reasons, we don't know. A government and the Prime Minister is helpless, watching the country's economy deteriorate and cannot do anything. That's inefficiency, and you pay for that inefficiency. When power plants don't come up, steel plants don't come up, roads are not built, ports don't come up, airports have cost escalation, road bridges are expensive. We all pay for it. We'll pay tolls for the rest of our life in Mumbai for a ceiling which should have cost 400 crores, but under the UPA in Maharashtra cost 1600 crores. Then there's moral corruption, where you see them attacking institutions of integrity. And we've seen that for the last many years. If the court ordered against their earlier Prime Minister, they would attack the courts. If the CAG came out with a report, they would attack the CAG. Their effort has been to kill institutions of integrity.
Okay.
And in terms of political corruption, I think the excuse given, the compulsions of coalition politics, it just doesn't wash. Mr. Vajpayee ran a coalition of 22 partners, but he did not compromise. And when push came to shove, he was willing to sacrifice his government, go in for a re-election, rather than compromise on the nation's interests under the garb of compulsions of coalition politics.
Okay, introductory comments, responses from this side. Who would like to go in with the first response? Okay, first counter to Piyush Goyal comes from Anand Sharma.
First of all, let me tell you, this entire thing about the coal saga, I do not know why it is being exaggerated. I know elections are coming nearer. So you can say anything and throw brickbats at the government without being gracious to acknowledge as to what the situation was, what the government inherited, and what were the challenges before the country. You had a situation where 30,000 megawatt short and more under the 11th plan of electricity. Your steel sector was suffering. This coal allocation thing, the young people must know, the audience, that there's a Coal Nationalization Act of 1973, which was first amended in 1993, where the entire coal, yes, that's no fact check at this stage, because that's the truth. Mr. Piyush Goyal, if you have objection in 2003, my question is, why you were sleeping?
Okay.
You were giving us the song about Vajpayee government, 1998 to 2004. What prevented you from changing the system? Why did you continue with the system?
Okay, Mr. No, you respond. No, there's no fact check here. You have to
completely erroneous.
You have to answer his question.
You may say that I'm wrong. Facts speak for themselves.
The fact of life is,
was coal not being mined? Was not coal being given to the private producers?
Mr. Sharma,
shall I give you the list of how many blocks you allocated and your state governments?
Yes, please. Yes. So that let the
no allocation has been made without the state governments, including Chhattisgarh and Jharkhand.
No,
including Gujarat.
They were never.
Which government?
They were never in the process
BJP
of allocation.
They were very much part of that. They are denying because of partisan politics.
They were
and I'm stating to you the facts.
Well, Mr. Sharma,
you can deny.
May I correct him on 3 things?
Now, Mr. Piyush Goyal, before you correct, because I'd like to quote the court. So the court says that the most non-transparent procedure was adopted from 1993 to 2010, includes the 6 years of the NDA. The government cannot give largesse at its arbitrary discretion or sweet will. It is surprising to note that between 93 and 2004, no data was maintained by the Ministry of Coal in respect of the applications received.
There you go.
And only minutes of the screening committee held to consider the application of a particular company were made available. You speak of crony capitalism.
May I correct your perspective?
No, there's no perspective. I'm quoting the Supreme Court. Do you want to correct the perspective of the Supreme Court?
The case.
Do you want to correct the perspective of the Supreme Court?
I'm correcting the facts of the case.
Well, you respond to me and to him, sir. Go ahead.
At the outset, from 93 or 94, when your government started giving coal to the private sector, the earlier government, there was very little demand for coal because private sector power generation was not permitted. So up to 2003, when the Electricity Act was amended by the NDA to allow private sector to come in a bigger way.
To put it simply, do you agree you were also part of the coal scam?
There was no demand for coal, so we would have an application or two.
No.
They were being addressed.
One second, counter coming from Sitaram Yechury coming in, please.
No, I've not completed.
No, he gives a fact check. But the rule of the debate is if somebody says fact check, then the person interrupts. Is allowed to interrupt. Sitaram Yechury to Piyush Goyal.
Interrupting you, but only the fact check is that the coal was nationalized in 1973. It was nationalized because there was demand for coal. And because the demand had to be regulated, it was nationalized. So don't give a wrong information that there was no demand for coal.
I beg to disagree.
Demand for coal was always there. And in order to regulate that, you nationalized it in 73.
I'm sorry, the demand we are discussing is for power plants, which he just referred to.
Yes.
The power plants were not in the private sector. They were all in government. 2003, the Electricity Act got amended. And the CAG report talks about the coal secretary, bringing out the fact that after August 2004, the demand for coal went up because the number of applications increased. I think up to 2004, hardly 2 billion tons of coal were allocated from 2006 to 9.
I think it was the BJP which said. I think it was the BJP which said. I think it was a person called Piyush Goyal who said that corruption is corruption, whether it is 1 rupee or 1 crore or 10,000 crores. So whether it's 1 coal block or 10 coal blocks or 10,000 coal blocks, mister, we are talking about a process. No, it doesn't matter you allocated. It doesn't matter that you allocated fewer coal blocks. The fact that you did, and you did it in a non-transparent, arbitrary manner.
Not at all. It was, as he said, the process, but there was no demand. Therefore, if 1 or 2 parties came forward, they would get the coal.
We're going to have another show of hands in a minute.
My question.
We have one more counter question, and that's coming in from the left. I thought you were almost on his side.
No. Why should I be? I mean, that's why I'm out. You put me on this side. I'm to Arunab's, but remember, I'm to Arunab's right, but to your left.
Okay.
So you keep that in.
Put your question briefly. We are going to have a show of hands. And the question will be, has Mr. Anand Sharma, through his aggression, been able to win over any of you, because the vote is going to happen in a minute?
You want to take
No, one second. No, we are going to take a vote after your counter question.
Okay. My counter question has got 2 aspects.
Okay. Mr. Yechury to Piyush
Goyal. One, Mr. Piyush Goyal said that Mr. Vajpayee sacrificed his government. He did not want to compromise because of coalition politics, and therefore he showed a certain adherence to principles, if I followed you rightly. Remember, in 1998, Mr. Vajpayee-led NDA fell because one of the parties that was supporting you, part of your alliance, withdrew the support.
Correct.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with corruption.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with all this. So don't take the moral high to say that he withstood that and therefore sacrificed the government and therefore went for a re-election.
Right.
The re-election happened because the AIDMK withdrew the support. Why that happened, etc., had nothing to do with corruption.
Are you accusing Mr. Piyush Goyal
that we never had a corruption?
Are you
wrong
accusing Mr. Piyush Goyal of being dishonest with the facts?
No, wrong representation of facts.
Wrong representation of facts.
You're welcome as an anchor to use the word.
I think,
but I mean, since you asked for a certain
thing, I think you missed the point. Political corruption is that when a partner withdraws support or threatens, as was the case in the UPA, Vajpayee had the option of compromising on principles to save his government, like the UPA did, allowing spectrum to be given away without
Piyushji, all of us
which Vajpayee did not do, try to get allies at the cost of principle.
So the BJP does not compromise on corruption and does not compromise on principle.
Absolutely.
So what did you just do by bringing back Mr. Yediyurappa into your party?
We had never thrown him out in the first place.
Did you not? Well, of course you did. You were forced to.
He left the party on his own accord. As soon as some charges were made on him, he had been withdrawn from all ministerial posts.
Let me complete my question. Please, 1 minute. 1 minute. You asked about Yediyurappa, but what about Mr. Babubhai Bokharia in Gujarat? He is a sitting minister. He's been convicted by court. The new law says if you're convicted, you cease to be a member of the parliament or the legislature. Mr. Lalu Prasad Yadav and Mr. Rashid Masood, both ceased to be members of the parliament the moment a lower court convicted them. Their appeals are pending. But you have taken the plea, the BJP, that since his appeal is pending, he will continue to be the minister.
A question goes at this stage.
And this is also connected with illegal mining, by the way. Since you're talking about coal mining, this is connected with illegal mining in Gujarat.
Well, I think a very important question goes at this stage of the debate. The left asks the BJP, if you are preaching to us on corruption, then how do you have somebody who is convicted in an illegal mining case called Babubhai Bokadia, right, still continue as a member of the Narendra Modi cabinet in Gujarat despite the conviction? Can I have a show of hands? The debate right now is poised like this. The subject is, if corruption is the #1 issue, is the Congress on the back foot? How many of you still feel is the Congress which is on the back foot and not any of the other parties? How many of you feel Congress on the back foot? Slightly fewer. Slightly fewer. The audience is getting divided, about 60% this time, I would say.
Let the debate continue. I will bring out the facts and the bitter truth.
Well, can I at this stage? I want a round of applause for our panelists at this stage of the debate. I think we are having a great debate.
To say very important interjection.
We are now going into open debate.
Very important interjection I wanted to make.
Yes, Mr. Sharma.
This is about what Piyush was saying and what you were saying. And Sita raised the issue of illegal mining. Now, that is very important for our young friends to know. See, we have a situation that until now the Parliament passes the new amendment which gives a direct linkage of the coal through public bidding, open bidding processes to the private producers, a system which is already there in place of competitive bidding.
Yes.
I'm not going to go into details, but the fact which you must know, that this controversy led to one situation, that India, which has the 3rd largest reserves of coal, had to import coal. Our shortage was 80 million tons. We imported coal worth 22 billion US dollars. 22 billion US dollars. I am the Commerce Minister, I know my numbers.
This is a fact
22 billion. 22 billion worth of coal was imported by India. That's a fact, because we could not mine our own coal.
I know you have a very experienced Commerce Minister of India, Mr. Sharma, but the fact is that you can check your facts on this. How many of the people who were allocated coal blocks actually did what they were supposed to do, harness the natural resources of the land? And why should the people of this country pay for a bunch of fraudsters who carry out this fraud on the nation by getting crony capitalism to be their instrument to get coal blocks and not act on it? I'm now opening up for debate. We should go back to the question to the BJP at this stage of the debate. At this stage of the debate, we are going into open debate round. The question is to the BJP, and I put this question following up from Sitaram Yechuri. You accuse the UPA of shielding corrupt ministers. Your prime ministerial candidate's cabinet, is it true that your prime ministerial candidate's cabinet has one minister who is convicted in an illegal mining case and another minister who is a direct accused in a 400 crore fishery scam? Is there any truth in what Sitaram Yechuri said, or is he manufacturing facts? Mr. Piyush Goyal, no, you may respond to him.
He has made certain allegations.
Are they factually incorrect?
They are both factually incorrect.
Factually incorrect?
They are in the courts. They are under appeal, and well, we will wait for the last word to be said.
My point is not that they are not under appeal. My point is that the new law as laid down by the courts, which the Election Commission has said must be implemented, because of which when a conviction happened at a lower court, notwithstanding the appeal that is still standing as far as Mr. Lalu Prasad Yadav is concerned, as far as Mr. Rashid Masood is concerned, both of them have been expelled from the parliament because of that conviction.
Well,
the same law, why doesn't it apply for a sitting minister in Gujarat?
Mr. Sharma also
and
wants
why
to
are you
add into that. Piyush
That
Goyal,
is the point.
You are on the back foot on this one, Anand Sharma.
No, I like Piyush as a person. And he has a bright future, long way to go. He's much younger than Sita and me. Piyush, I know that you are representing BJP. Don't be in denial. The conviction is a conviction by a court of law. And the continuation is illegal, ultra virus of law.
Well, I think we are waiting for the last word to be said on both the cases. These are old appeals which are pending before the new law. And I don't think and I don't think they come under the category under which you are expecting.
No,
to-
Mr. Piyush Goyal, did you wait for the last word in the case of Kalmadi? Did you wait for the last word in the case of Shashi Tharoor? Did you wait for the last word in the case of Mr. A. Raja?
No,
Did you wait for the last word in the Devas ISRO case?
No.
Did you wait for the last word in the Adarsh case? Did you wait for the last word in the case of Ashok Chavan?
No, we have not waited.
Did you wait for the last word in the case of the charges that you made against the former Congress Chief Minister? I am listing out your argument to yourself, Mr. Piyush Goyal. On this one, would you concede that Narendra Modi should have sacked these people a long while back from his cabinet, and is not doing so puts the BJP on the back foot? You still have time between now and the general election.
I don't think so. In the whole state of Gujarat,
we don't think so.
We have seen governance at its best.
So you can ask. You can ask for counters.
That question is, what is sauce for the goose is sauce for the gander.
Well,
whatever our opinion of Mr. Lalu Prasad Yadav is or Mr. Rashid Masood is, if a lower court has convicted them and they had to leave their seats in the parliament, if the same lower court has convicted them, the process of law is still on in those two cases. It is still on in your case of the minister. How is that law not being applied? How is it not being applied in Gujarat?
Like many other, including in your from the CPM,
you can't have one rule for you can't have one rule. You can't have one rule for corruption in New Delhi and one rule for corruption in Gandhinagar, Mr. Piyush Goyal. Counter question. I can see the Congress party is relishing this moment. Isn't Mr. Anand Sharma relishing this moment? And I'd say to Mr. Anand Sharma, he's enjoying this debate, and I have not had him on a debate for a long time. I think he should come more on our debates. Mr. Anand Sharma relishing the moment. By the way, I am also relishing the moment because I have a counter question for you in a minute. But you can enjoy the moment while it lasts.
No issue.
Mr. Sharma, and your counter question to Piyush Goyal.
No, mine is a very limited one. To what he just said, I can understand his eagerness to portray Mr. Narendra Modi as the most honest, as the most principled, upholder of the morality and the values of this country. He's expected to say that. But to say that the Gujarat model, I would say to him, in the first 13 years of this country, we have heard for the last 5 years, Mr. Narendra Modi saying that I have got 10 lakh crores of MOU and the investment is coming, 15 lakh crores of MOUs and the investment is coming. Now, the RBI published data, which is as per the regional RBI officers, in the first 12 years of this century, 2000 to 2012, the total FDI into India which has come in.
What has that got to do with corruption?
No, I'll tell you about, no, he talked about administration, he talked about development, the model. 296 billion. Highest is Maharashtra, 63 billion. He lives in Mumbai, so please take credit. And Gujarat is at number 6. Delhi is number 2. That's the national capital region at 36. No, I'm talking about his model of growth. Second thing, that when this is not a fact check. This is RBI's.
I'll give you a fact check on it.
No, I'll give you the exact number.
You can give me a rebuttal after
Second thing, you may give a rebuttal which will be as hollow as the previous one. Now, second thing which I must tell you, that when it comes to overall growth, on Friday, the national papers, the pink papers, the economic papers, published the list of the states, the top 6 and the bottom 6, when it comes to industrial production and growth. Gujarat figures in the bottom 6. Number 3, and the last point, because I have many more, but the last one is that when Mr. Narendra Modi took over as the Chief Minister of Gujarat, the public debt of the state of Gujarat was 37,900 crores. No, I'm talking of governance and administration. Today, Gujarat is the third most indebted state of India after West Bengal and UP. These are the facts. The Gujarat public debt has risen by 1,20,000 crores under this good model of governance.
You made your point, but
I need to rebut all.
I don't want to get. This is not a debate on the governance and economic model.
All three are factually wrong, so I can't let it
factually wrong. But you're questioning the RBI data.
Quickly correct all three.
In a minute, because this debate is on corruption.
First of all, FDI, and he's the Honorable Commerce Minister of India, and I'm amazed he doesn't know a basic fact that FDI is reflected in the state in which the registered office of a company is. So when FDI comes into Reliance, their registered office is in Maharashtra, but they have no business in Maharashtra.
I don't know from where you're getting it. You're manufacturing now.
Well, I know
you're rebutting everyone.
From the RBI website, The FDI figures are attributed to the state.
Are you trying to tell me
where
that
the
FDI comes into Chennai, but actually the factories are in
Yes,
Gujarat?
for
FDI
example,
comes into
yes, I'll correct you. I
Karnataka. What
suggest
is this?
you
Is
check
anybody
it.
going to believe
Let me
this?
get- Yes,
Well,
it's a fact.
false claims.
I think the
Well,
debate,
it's a fact.
gentlemen.
Arnab,
Distortion.
Arnab.
No, I have a
There is
different.
company
I thought
called
this
Clean
was.
Energy.
I thought this was a debate on
One sec,
corruption.
Arnab, he has
I
to
thought
be
this was a
corrected.
debate on corruption. Was it
Then-
not? Was it not a debate on corruption?
Well,
We want a debate
you
on
allowed
corruption.
him to divert
No,
the
I
issue.
think.
No, because you
allowed him to
he
divert
was-
the
I think
issue.
I think
He
the
was
The
talking
fact
about
is-
I
the
think the
Gujarat
honorable
border.
BJP
The fact
treasurer.
is,
I think the
Maharashtra
honorable
and Delhi- one sec,
honorable
Arnab.
BJP
Yeah,
treasurer.
Arnab,
yeah,
Arnab,
I
it has to
think
be
the
corrected.
audience is fed up with both
I
the Indian
think
model
I
and
think
the
I
Gujarat
think the
model.
honorable BJP treasurer.
So I think let us not discuss
Yeah, let's
the
not.
Indian model and
My
the Gujarat
question.
model.
No, but the
My
fact is that
my
is factually
question.
wrong.
No, no,
My
no,
question is.
actually right.
Absolutely wrong.
No,
My
I
question.
I am
my-
willing to produce
I will not allow.
You may produce any document.
I-
I am willing
I
to write
request
to
you-
as an
Unless-
honourable
Both are
member
wrong.
of
I request you,
parliament.
gentlemen,
Both are wrong.
gentlemen, I
Counter.
request you, since I have the liberty, of moving and you don't, and you're harnessed to your tables and I'm not, I use this liberty to request you to come back to the debate. Should they not come back to the debate?
No.
Should we have a debate on corruption? Should we discuss corruption loud and clear before the general election? And is corruption a principal issue in this election or not? Will it decide the way you vote? So let's talk corruption in the national election debate. My next question to Anand Sharma, and I have the people on my side, Mr. Sharma, on this.
Don't corrupt the
And my next question to Mr. Anand Sharma is about Rahul Gandhi.
corrupting the issue.
Mr. Rahul Gandhi has made a belated entry into the national sea. Now, I didn't hear Mr. Rahul Gandhi speak on 2G. And I didn't hear Mr. Rahul Gandhi speak about CWG. And I didn't hear Mr. Rahul Gandhi speak about the coal scam. I didn't hear Mr. Rahul Gandhi speak about Bribegate. I didn't hear Mr. Rahul Gandhi speak on Pawan Kumar Bansal, Ashwini Kumar. But I expected that after the Chintan Shivir of your party, in the early part of 2013, when he became vice president of the party, effective de facto number 2 and probably more, and especially after his aggressive entry and he's going to be the prime ministerial candidate of the BJP, we expected Rahul Gandhi to speak, Rahul Gandhi to speak on the fact that Veerbhadra Singh, your chief minister from your state, which you represent, allow me to complete, he and his wife took cash from a businessman they had favorable business dealings with in government. Rahul Gandhi didn't speak on that. Rahul Gandhi said, I personally disagree with what happened on the other scam, but Rahul Gandhi has presided over the cover-up in which not a single prominent politician, including Ashok Chavan, has actually faced the legal process. So my question to you, sir, is that during the Lokpal, Rahul Gandhi, during the Lokpal debate, I remember Rahul Gandhi saying, I like to think before I speak. Why is Rahul Gandhi not speaking now, and what is he thinking about in the case of Ashok Chavan and Veerbhadra Singh?
Well, it's very fashionable. Let me tell you that when you are in a position of authority, particularly when you are the government of the day in office for 10th year running, we become targets, but excessive vilification is not fair. First of all, you have yourself said that Rahul Gandhi is the Congress vice president.
Yes.
When the Congress party takes decisions, it's a core committee of the Congress.
Yes.
When it asks the ministers to step down, when it initiates action and the government initiates actions, it's the core committee decision. Rahul Gandhi's party to every decision about the resignation of the ministers, about the actions being initiated. Secondly, he has spoken about the ordinance when it was particularly about the convicted MLAs. No, he has commented on that. You wait. Veerbhadra Singh has spoken for himself. It's an allegation. He is submitting himself to a probe. Let the probe report be out. But I am on a limited question here. We know that our opponents are on a daily drumbeat. Do you expect the Congress vice president to join the drumbeat?
No.
He is the leader of the Congress party.
Sir,
he will be party to the decisions which are taken not on the street but in a correct manner in the core committee
these
meeting.
are not the streets.
He is very much endorsing the decisions.
This is very much the thought of the people, and allegations of grave impropriety. Grave impropriety have been placed against.
Allegation is an allegation.
Ashok Chavan and Veerbhadra Singh.
Don't you try to create an environment, and I say very responsibly, what are the basic canons of natural justice? They are being torn apart.
Sir.
Well, there is also, you cannot pronounce judgments in advance. Allegation remains an allegation until the truth is proved. Fact and fiction are important. What this country has also seen, and pardon my saying so, and I must say it, that the entire amount budgeted for the Commonwealth Games is being referred to as scam, which have seen Metro,
It doesn't
highways,
work.
which has seen flyovers, which have seen world-class stadiums, all that amount as if the amount has vanished.
Well, you moved away
That is
from
what the exaggeration is. That's where the sensationalization is. You are citizens of Delhi. You see what how Delhi has transformed. Where did the money come from? That was earmarked to upgrade Delhi for the Commonwealth Games.
Mr. Anand Sharma.
There may be acts of omission and commission. Mr. Kalmadi went to prison. There is still a case which is on trial, so you cannot prejudge and go beyond a point.
With the deftness of only a person with your experience, by the way, Mr. Anand Sharma, despite his relative youth in politics, has 42 years in politics, and therefore bringing all the 42 years of his political experience to his command, he has deftly avoided the subject of Veerbhadra Singh and Adarsh and moved to CWG. And I wonder, Mr. Anand Sharma, if somebody taking a ticket on a metro tomorrow will say, thank you, Mr. Kalmadi.
I'm not saying
Kalmadi. For all your corruption.
No.
Thank you for all your corruption because I get to ride on the metro at the end of it.
Listen, let me again correct you. Let me again correct you. I don't think it was Kalmadi who was given the budget and the responsibility to construct the stadium or the metro or the airport.
It wasn't the BJP or the left.
No, it was the government of Delhi.
Yes. And who was running the government of
development?
Who was running the government
divert, and that is what the budget was.
But who was running
if you say that
party
airport has not come, if you say metro is not running.
But which party was in power in Delhi?
The Congress party was in power.
So then you are responsible for the corruption?
No, there is the corruption. You put the entire amount, I'm sorry, what you are saying is that if you give to your wife 5,000 rupees for the groceries, and if your servant steals or somebody responsible, your accountant, indulges in an act where 200 rupees go missing, then the entire 5,000 you blame your wife.
With respect,
no, Delhi government has not misused
with respect and on a lighter note, thanks to the strenuous efforts of your government, if anyone were to get 5,000 rupees to run their household, you'd get the money back.
I'm not saying that, just an illustration.
Well, Mr. Anand Sharma, we have counters coming in. You have a counter. I think he has a counter for you.
I think it's very clear
What's
that
clear?
Mr. Rahul Gandhi does not have any opinion against corruption. He has been complicit in the whole process for so many years. He has probably spoken in Parliament only on 2 occasions. We've not heard him speak in Parliament. His attendance is less than 50%. But before I conclude, I just want to read out from the exact text of the law because he has indulged in political corruption by misleading the House.
Who is indulged in political?
Mr. Sharma.
You are accusing Mr. Sharma of indulging in political corruption by misleading the audience.
Misled these young boys and girls.
No, I don't mislead.
Now I'm reading out from the law of the land. FDI reporting happens.
No, we are not discussing FDI. No, we are not discussing.
He has tried to mislead these young boys and girls.
No, I go back. I'm once again going to go back to the audience. I'm going to go back to the audience at this stage. Was this debate, should the debate be on corruption?
Don't worry.
Should the focus remain on corruption? And if the Congress and the BJP move away from the subject of corruption, should we bring them back to it? Okay, on the national election debate, since I have the people on my side,
Mr. That's all right, but I just wanted to correct you. The RBI
Mr. Piyush Goyal,
Mr. Piyush Goyal,
Mr. Piyush Goyal,
I'm on record.
Which is not correct.
Mr. Piyush Goyal,
I'm saying it on record.
Now you will agree with
Sitaram Yechuri.
Back to the subject. Coming back to the subject.
There's a match fixing going on here. They don't want to discuss corruption, and both of them are actually involved. Don't get into FDI and all that. That's not the issue.
I was trying to counter.
The point is, let's come back to corruption and let's discuss that.
My senior colleague.
I would like to now ask the BJP representative who wants to discuss FDI figures in Gujarat with great alacrity whether he will accept the challenge on the national election debate for telling me about the achievements of Mr. Yediyurappa, which include receiving 20 crores allegedly as kickbacks from the Southwestern Mining Company as a quid pro quo to waive off dues to the state government. There was a recovery of 890 crores loss caused to a state-run public sector unit. And allegedly, Mr. Yediyurappa, among his several other achievements, was paid 20 crores as quid pro quo as the minister for not insisting on its recovery. You have brought him back. Have you lost completely before the people of this country? And is this one of the principal reasons why parties like the Aam Aadmi Party are gaining at your expense? Would you concede that the move to get Yediyurappa back may get you a few votes in Karnataka, which probably it may not, but there will be a major loss of perception in the entire country that you've brought a tainted man back into your party? Mr. Goyal.
Arnab, you yourself just said these are allegations. The High Court has ruled that these investigations are stayed and the Lokayuk report was not accepted.
The High Court reprieve has nothing to do with the CBI case against him. On a fact check, the High Court reprieve has nothing to do with the CBI case against him, which it started investigations at the direct of the High Court. And I would like to remind you that Mr. Advani said, though you don't listen to him nowadays, he said to your party that when it comes to even a hint of corruption within our own ranks, we must be even more intolerant and resolute when we attack the same in our adversaries. That is how we can build credibility among the people. Are you building credibility by bringing Mr. Yediyurappa back into your party?
It's not a question of bringing him back or not. He was
You have brought him back.
May I complete? He was never removed from the party in the first place. He was removed from all his ministerial positions as soon as these allegations came in. He chose to leave the party and he requested
when you lost the elections, again you're factually incorrect after the Karnataka results.
Are not proved.
After the Karnataka
the allegations
results
are not proved, he's come back unconditionally
at 4:35 p.m.
without any ministerial or any position being given to him.
At 35 minutes past 4 in the afternoon on the 8th of May 2013, when you were routed in the Karnataka elections, and I have my dates and time absolutely correct, Ravi Shankar Prasad said that Yediyurappa, the issue took away a good portion of our votes because we lost him. But he said certain issues are non-negotiable. And corruption is one such issue. He spoke in the context of Yediyurappa. I just want to ask you, what has changed? What has changed between May 2013 and January 2014?
Not at all. Nothing has changed. The context in which he said it was...
The context...
Elections are closer.
Elections are closer. Yediyurappa left the party. And there was no negotiation or compromise on allowing him to go.
Any counters from this side?
He wanted his ministerial position, which the party did not negotiate.
You removed him because of the allegations against him.
Insisted that he leave his ministerial positions. There was no negotiation on ministerial positions.
Any counters on the Yediyurappa issue from this side?
No, I just want, I don't want to put poor Mr. Piyush Goyal into greater embarrassment, because as Anand said, I also agree. He came into the Rajya Sabha after I was there. He's got a bright future, and in fact, I worked with his esteemed father, who was in the same this thing. So I don't want him to put him to greater embarrassment, but the facts are facts.
Yes.
Accept it that you have compromised because the elections are close by, and you want certain votes which Yediyurappa can bring. You know, I know that this is the reality, and that is why
you may choose to decide that you know. But I'm telling
I'm saying you know. You know also. I'm not only saying I know.
The fact is, he was not given any hearing at all by the Lokayuk, which was then stayed by the High Court. Investigations are going on till such time as a person is convicted. In fact, some of the cases have already fallen off. I think it will be unfair to cast
Mr. Anand Sharma wants to
consider. Mr. Anand Sharma to Piyush Goyal. No, even in the earlier issue we were discussing, why is this yardstick of saying until he is convicted or until the case is proven, appeal is pending, valid for the BJP, but it's not valid for the Congress. No, I just cannot understand this logic. If Lalu Prasad Yadav has to go, if Rashid Masood has to go, why do these people have to remain?
Mr. Shri, my question next is to you, and we are limited time on this debate, and hence you must answer this. I appreciate your position, that when it's an issue of corruption, it's an issue of corruption. That's what you're saying. And do you believe there should be any compromise with corruption?
No.
Do you believe there should be any compromise with political parties who are accused of corruption?
No.
And then tell me, why did you do a deal with Mayawati?
Where?
When you broke away with the Congress party, and when you were politically isolated. Don't look at me so angrily, Mr. H.
No, of course I'll look at you angrily, because if you're going to say that I have defended Mayawati, then of course I'll be angry.
I find that you have double standards when the radar of corruption is put at you, because you had said that you have no problem with Mayawati's leadership in September 2008. Let me remind you, Mr. Yechuri, let me remind you, this was the time when Mayawati, your party said that.
When?
Your party leader, Mr. Prakash Karat, I presume you know him. Mr. Prakash Karat said that. After he met, and the Prakash Karat said the CPM says it has no problem in working under the leadership of the Bahujan Samaj Party chief if the proposed third front comes to power in the next general elections, because the priority is to defeat both the Congress and the BJP. Prakash Karat said that. Are you surprised?
No, I see in the sense
and this was the time when, 1 minute, I haven't finished. This was the time when Mayawati was under fire for the Taj corridor and the disproportionate assets case. So, For you, communalism is a big issue. Getting the BJP and the Congress house is a big issue, but corruption is not a big issue when it comes to your own political targets. Answer, Mr. Yechuri.
Yeah, Mr. Goswami, with all this experience, and granted that you've still got a lot of career ahead of you, if I were to say your right eye is bad or your left eye is bad, which one would you choose? I'm saying both corruption and communalism are bad.
So Mayawati is the third eye?
Protected against both.
So Mayawati was the third eye?
You can't say, no, I'll choose my right eye, not my left eye.
Was Mayawati the third eye?
You want to be one eye blind?
No, was Mayawati the third eye?
I am saying both are important. Let us fight both.
No,
if you want to save India, build a better India, both are important.
I believe you dodged my question with a, what would I say, a theoretical duck.
Theoretical. I mean, you called Mr. Anand Sharma, I thought you called him deaf, but I thought you finally turned out to be deft. So, I mean, there's no theoretical duck here. This is a fact I'm saying, that you can judge us by what we are.
Well, Mr. Yechuri,
we have seen.
My next question is to the Congress party. My question to the Congress party is, that I completely believe that Rahul Gandhi was sincere when he said there should be no compromises with corruption. You yourself quoted what he said on the issue of the ordinance, if I heard you correctly. Do you believe that when Rahul Gandhi was speaking about the ordinance, he meant it and he was honest?
Well, I think he spoke, as he has said, out of conviction. He also spoke on Lokpal, and his contribution in pushing forward has been acknowledged. I know that in partisan politics, it will always get debated. But why do you question the sincerity of a word spoken?
Yeah.
Why doesn't our opposition at least relent for a moment and say that yes, when there has been any episode, there has been response, there has been action. You don't deny. We can have a responsible debate to inform our citizens, to inform our people when we place the true facts. We cannot be in denial. I said right in my opening words that there is angst in the country, and that's why we are conscious of that.
No, Mr.
We are concerned about that, and we are responding to
I'm not, and on this I'll take you. I'm not, don't get me wrong, Mr. Sharma. I am just, this is what Rahul Gandhi said. He said, it is time to stop this nonsense. Political party, these are his words. You are looking at me angrily again. These are his words.
I'm not angry at all.
It is time to stop this nonsense, he said. Political parties, mine and all others. If you want to fight corruption in the country, whether it's Congress or BJP, we cannot continue making these small compromises. Because if we make these small compromises, then we compromise anywhere. So I want to ask you, in the same breath, Mr. Anand Sharma, of not making any compromises, would you say that any political deal with Lalu Prasad Yadav, convicted on the 30th of September for alleged involvement in the Chaibasa treasury case pertaining to the fraudulent withdrawal of taxpayers' money, cannot be allowed, and therefore keeping your same ideological position intact, that you will never ever, and I want you to say this before the entire audience, you will not allow any political alliance with a person accused who has come out of jail on an important act of corruption such as that. Mr. Anand Sharma.
Electoral alliances are made with political parties.
What happens to moderates?
Number one, with the political parties. Number two, I am the Economy Minister of India, but I am not a minister who is responsible for the coalition. There is a committee which the party has formed, headed by Shri A.K. and
you're representing the Congress on this program.
I am not privy to the deliberations of that committee, which will take a view. I cannot actually say something which is not correct. Let a position be taken. I cannot preempt a situation and actually make a judgmental statement even before the party has taken a decision. I'll wait for that in a responsible manner.
I'm only asking you whether the same logic you apply for Yediyurappa applies for Lalu Prasad.
Listen, Yediyurappa, Sita has commented.
Yes.
They have said that he is coming back to their party. We have questions there.
Yeah.
Because Yediyurappa was a member of BJP, he has rejoined BJP, rejoining BJP.
But not in any ministerial position.
No, listen.
There's no ministry
like your chief minister.
No ministerial position.
It could be any position. Like your chief minister.
Why don't you tell them that
who refuses to acknowledge in the public domain?
Ashok Chavan was made to resign. Just when the Adarsh report came, he was asked to step down.
Well, the Home Minister of India is indicted in the Adarsh report, and you have rejected the report.
Well, I don't think so. You have read the report.
I thought it's in public domain that the three chief ministers
Well, your chief minister, Prithviraj Chavan, for whom I have the highest respect as a man of integrity, has made a public statement. Unless and until you dispute that, he has said that they have not been indicted. Now, either I trust the chief minister's word, his His statement is in public domain.
No, I contest that. Maybe
no, he has said that.
There are
Is
three
it
chief
true?
ministers indicted, one of whom is the Honorable Home Minister in your cabinet.
Well, he has said that there is, as far as these former chief ministers are concerned,
So
your present chief
selectively
minister
you
says
choose.
that's not true.
You have selectively chosen which part of the report suits you and which part doesn't
Listen,
suit you by that
And
logic.
what about the relative of a Rajya Sabha member of the BJP who allegedly, through alleged Benami transactions, has about 8 flats in the Adarsh Society building?
So
Would I get your comments on that?
That's a part of the inquiry which has already
So
been
do you believe you should have taken disciplinary action against that BJP MP because of the indirect relationship of his relation? Do you feel
This
that's
is not
coincidental?
indirect. This is a direct action of a home minister while he was the chief minister. We are discussing.
Is that the reason why you've not taken up the Adarsh case aggressively? Because
We have taken it
because
as
you've been
aggressively
caught
as Times Now has.
because you have been also caught with your hand in the cookie jar.
None of us is responsible for all the actions of this government in the last 10
What
years.
about the actions of your Rajya Sabha MP? Has he got anything to do with the alleged Benami transactions of his relative who have flats in the Adarsh Society building?
He has nothing to do with that. There is no mention of him in that report at all.
There is a coal.
Well, that report is in the government's hand.
Sitaram Yechuri is a counter to that. Sitaram Yechuri.
Well, if he is calling it allegations, then the same will apply to others
No,
also
I'm
as
saying his
allegations.
name is also
No.
not there in the report. The so-called person whom he's referring to, his name is also not there in the report.
His
said
relative's
Benami.
name is very much in the report. I correct you.
The relatives will be facing the inquiry. But
How
why
do
should the
relatives
Rajya
of
Sabha-
political parties get
driver-
multi-crore flats in...
Well, my government was not in power. It was the UPA government.
Which exactly concede, maybe you have a truck between the both of you to indulge in some form of nepotism and corruption. Is it true?
Absolutely
Is
not.
that one of the reasons why the Aam Aadmi Party is proving to be a potent threat to the BJP and maybe to the Congress as well? Mr. Piyush Goyal.
The last word is still not written. We'll have to see how much of a threat and how deep the threat is all over the nation. But I must say, it's a good sign that the young people of India are getting agitated on corruption. I think they will judge. They will judge all the governments by their performance, and they will look at the track record.
I want to put one question to the audience at this stage of the debate. We have 10 minutes left, ladies and gentlemen, just 10 minutes. And my last question, which for how many of you out here, when you cast your vote, would corruption be the #1 issue on which you would cast your vote, or would you cast your vote on other issues? Corruption #1 issue for how many of you? Well, that's almost all. That's roughly about 90%. Does it scare you, Mr. Anand
Very
Sharma?
good.
No.
Does it
First
scare
of
you,
all-
Mr. Anand Sharma?
First of all, I'll say this is a very important issue. But I must also say, in a democracy, which is the largest in the world, there are other issues. There are multiple of issues. Corruption is one of the important issues.
Mr. Sharma, everyone wants to know that the Prime Minister of India had a news conference last week, which many of our audience may have seen. I found a very intriguing comment of the Prime Minister, where when he was asked about the scams, he says, first of all of this happened in the UPA 1. And then he went on to say, and we won the election after that. I feel, Mr. Sharma, forgive me if I'm being imprudent, but that is a very arrogant comment that only comes from those who believe that corruption is not really an issue which will matter among the people. Because what the Prime Minister was saying, therefore, was that despite the scams, I got elected. Mr. Sharma, would you like to issue a clarification or a retraction of what your Honorable Prime Minister said?
To be fair to the Prime Minister, I think it is being torn out of context. What he actually meant, that whatever the allegations are, because finally the scams will be determined by the courts, and that those processes are on, because we are not only a democracy, but a rule-based, rule-governed democracy. Therefore, let's leave it to that, to the final word, both when it comes to political parties and that. But Prime Minister meant that all these allegations pertain to UPA 1. After that, under his watch, in UPA 2, there has never been a scam. There has never been any allegation. No, you may say so. You may say every decision is a scam.
In the public domain after UPA 2 got elected.
Public domain is
Therefore,
different.
the public never had an opportunity to cast their vote on those scams, point one.
Listen,
and after 2009, we've had enough and more scams.
Listen, I cannot change the year you can. If you're born in 1972, and if you go to school at a particular age, you cannot change the year of birth. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
what
but if
Prime
the
Minister
fact that
meant
you
was all
cheated-
these
If
allegations
the fact
pertain
that
to
you
that
cheated
period.
came out after the first result
Whatever.
was out,
The question
then
is,
you can't say the
no,
first result is
let me
exonerating.
quickly answer. One moment, Sita. The fact of the matter is that which government brought in transparency and accountability, from right to information to whistleblower act to protect those who make disclosures of any act of
I will
corruption
correct
or
you on that
commission.
also. Fact
You may
check, yeah.
correct me on anything. You
Fact
fact
check.
check or not.
Because
That
the
led-
Freedom of Information Act was brought in by my
my
government
God, my
in
God.
2002.
Right to
the
information.
Right to information.
No, this is too much.
The right to information is only small amendments beyond the
please,
freedom
please,
of
please,
information.
please.
I have a complete
Listen.
chart. The
Please
only
allow me
thing
to
is
complete.
the
Have the
cabinet-
patience.
It became law.
It became law.
The Prime Minister of India.
No, it became law. Public procurement. Which cabinet cleared it? Where the law is there? Now
We're still
let me
not
tell you,
seen anything
on coal
under that
mining,
act.
on coal mining, which
Nothing has
government?
happened under that act.
Yeah, because you blocked parliament.
Ah.
Even on coal, your governments
so-
were dragging their feet.
So
Your
when
state
the
governments.
When the Lokpal
It
was
is
being
before the
debated,
standing committee, and the standing committee, pardon my saying so, is saying that it should be sent back to the states. You're not willing, even public procurement law, even Whistleblowers Act. If you have sincerity, let's pass it in February.
So why
when
did
the
you not
parliament
pass
meets
it
for the
for the
budget
2
session.
years that it's lying in
No, it's
parliament?
lying with you. You don't
I mean,
allow
you're
this
a
to be
member of the
discussed.
same house.
I
No,
think
you
Mr.
don't
Sharma,
allow.
you're a member of the same house.
one minute.
Sitaram,
Yeah, this is
Sitaram Yechury.
a wonderful discussion that's going on, Mr. Goswami. I mean, it's like General V.K. Singh's date of birth dispute. When was who born and what was happened and who started what? The point is that the audience says a vast majority of them corruption is going to be a major issue. Yes. Wonderful.
Yes.
That means the new government is not going to be headed either by Congress or the BJP. And then we'll have a government which hopefully will change this policy direction, which, as I said at the beginning, is the systemic cause for this sort of corruption at high places. And that is what needs to be tackled.
And therefore,
that requires an alternate
no, one
policy.
second. Therefore, I want assurance from you, since I believe that you are working very hard to create a third, fourth, a fifth, or a sixth front government, Mr. Yechury, these days. I want you to assure everyone here today that that front which you are trying to create will not involve a single person with the existing, past, or pending allegation of corruption against them. And I say this is I want an assurance on that subject that you will not have a truck and then you will not use some secularism card which you'll pull out of the hat to form such a government, Mr. Yechury, and then say corruption is important, but we need to keep the country together against communal forces. Mr. Yechury, assurance.
You see, but
assurance.
The point is, but
assure us, Mr. Yechury.
Yes, assurance definitely, not only of the past or the present, but also of the future.
No,
we'll anticipate. If you want, we'll try and anticipate that who in the future is likely to be corrupt.
No, I'm asking you whether you will do any business with those who have pending criminal allegations against them.
No, pending criminal allegation, nobody who has been convicted, unlike the other two cases, nobody who has been convicted shall be in any government where if we have any, we are in a position to decide on the formation of such a government.
So how did 2004 to 8 happen? I don't know.
No, why? It did happen because like you said yourself, none of these corruption scams when, surfaced during the UPA 1. And secondly, when you are saying, in spite of the scams that we have been re-elected, if the Congress is claiming, which means what? In 2009, they got 61 seats more than they got in 2004. Therefore, more the scams, the greater the votes you get. Is that the logic that is being paraded? This is ridiculous. You see, let us come down to the issue. You're talking of corruption. Corruption is a major issue. Resources that should have been used for the welfare of the people are being siphoned off into private pockets. Now, that is, in my opinion, both an issue of morality and the system. The system has to be changed, means policies have to be different.
We just had a round of elections.
That unfortunately can only come with an alternate sans the BJP or the Congress.
Now I'll take two questions from the audience. Two questions.
I'm Navneet from Chennai, and my question is to Mr. Anand Sharma. I'm amazed at the blind optimism that you have that you would come to the government in 2014 Lok Sabha elections. The thing is, with corruption, let's just compare it for a second with the knowledge of terrorism. Pre 9/11 in US, people didn't learn about terrorism so much. It was very minimum. And post 9/11, people learned a lot. Just like that, why don't we learn corruption in a proper scientific knowledge manner and not just harp on the pending bills in the Parliament or the Prevention of Corruption Act, and why don't we?
Okay.
My young friend should know that when you are living in a law-governed society, you have to have laws in place to act. As I said during the course of this debate, initially after India's independence, prevention of corruption was only 2 sections in the Indian Penal Code. Later the realization came and Parliament enacted a dedicated act called the Prevention of Corruption Act. So these systems evolve, and the law, we are not hiding. This means that we should not put laws in place.
But
I talked about whistleblowers protection. I talked about amending the Prevention of Corruption Act, also giving more functional autonomy to the investigating agencies. This is what the governments are supposed to do. Governments cannot take upon themselves the final adjudication process, because the prosecution is with the independent agency.
Legislation does
and
not.
There is no legislation is with the government.
Does not stop you from taking action against Ashok Chavan or Veerbhadra Singh.
No, but action has been taken. Wherever action has been.
No action against Veerbhadra Singh.
No, I'm sorry. Ministers have gone. Even in a coalition government, Mr. A. Raja, DMK was an important ally. You are from Chennai. Raja had to go. My 2 colleagues you referred to by name, they had to go. A serving chief minister, merely on allegation in other scam, Ashok Chavan, had to go. Well, so it's not a question that actions are not being taken.
No, you know, 5 ministers have had to go. And I would certainly tell you, in the case of Pawan Kumar Bansal, it took your government 6 days and a washed out parliament session before sacking the ministers. Your party was busy stoutly defending them till then. But one more question, please.
Sir, this is Bharti. As you open your comment with that we believe in holistic approach, right? You're having such a stimulating approach. As a citizen of India, I want to ask why our Honorable Prime Minister is not accountable.
Yeah.
Why
he's accountable.
He's not accountable.
He is.
No.
He is. No, I must educate you. First of all, Prime Minister and his entire cabinet is fully accountable. We are accountable to the people through their elected representatives. That's the Parliament. We have a constitutional framework. So we are accountable. We are accountable under law. In fact, when it comes to public scrutiny, your elected representatives, including members of Parliament, are under public scrutiny.
The Prime Minister says that the people of India do not seem to have paid heed to the allegations of corruption against me or my party. Now, when he says that, there is just going to be a point, you know, a growing feeling that the Prime Minister feels the people of India don't care about corruption. And I think after the Delhi elections, when the Aam Aadmi Party came in, for the Prime Minister to say the people of India do not seem to have paid heed to the allegations of corruption against me and my party will make people view that this is the official view of the Congress Party, that the 2G and coal scams were perpetuated during UPA 1. And basically, you have a people's mandate. There is no significance of the scams. Mr. Anand Sharma,
let me be very clear.
You want to clarify that? You can.
First, I have said that we are fully accountable. Second, any allegation must be acted upon. Any allegation against anyone, irrespective of which position the individual holds.
Mr. Anand.
Number three. No, let me tell you. Let me also tell you. You are giving example of 5. Why you are not talking of the other 70 who have upheld the institutional dignity and integrity?
Well, should we be grateful that only 5 ministers have to go?
Have we ever been appreciative of the good work? That's what I refer to as the negative and the shrill narrative, which actually undermines the morale and the confidence. We also have to have a balanced narrative, which also looks at what the positives have been done.
We've had a
not only, you know, you cannot just make a sweeping indictment. We have to be careful there.
The question where we began was this, that if corruption is the #1 issue, is the UPA on the back foot? Which means if corruption is the #1 issue, the UPA alone is on the back foot vis-a-vis the other parties. How many of you believe so? How many of you believe the UPA is on the back foot?
Alone.
The UPA is on the back foot, which means the UPA is more on the back foot than the others, obviously. That they have more to answer for. Well, it's a far more divided audience right now than it was at the start. Credit must be given to the way the governments put their points of view. But at the very end of this debate, one closing round from Mr. Piyush Goyal, Anand Sharma, one thing, 30 seconds each, which you will do to tackle the problem of corruption if you were to come to power, Mr. Piyush Goyal.
I think very clearly we have to remove discretion from government policy. We have to allow people to work as per processes, and should there be need to take a discretionary order, it should be in public domain, not wait for RTI, but suo moto government should put it out in public domain. for the public to know reasons for any deviation from policy.
Thank you.
And in that respect, I think Modi has shown the way, where in 12 years, every aspect of good governance has been demonstrated in that state.
Yes, Mr. Anand Sharma.
You see, as far as I'm concerned, I think there are three priorities. First, of course, to put in place an institutional mechanism which is a watchdog, which has been done, which functions, which restores the confidence when it comes to the system acting against corruption. Number two, administrative reforms and governance reforms. Number three, badly needed judicial reforms so that justice is made affordable and accessible for the citizens of the Republic of India.
Well, Mr. Sitaram Yechuri.
Well, as I said at the beginning, what is required is a systemic change. If one is that we would have to change the policies that will promote these sort of crony capitalism and sweetheart deals. And number two, to put in place regulatory mechanisms and to create better laws, which we have begun to create now in this parliament, but that is, I mean, is a long way to go. Create better laws for the enforcement of it.
Right.
Finally, hoping that the electorate will exercise its discretion and choose those people who will be able to uphold these principles of morality.
Well, I thank you all very much. Let's have a round of applause for our panelists. I think our effort, first of all, this robust debate, giving us an opportunity to debate one subject in detail, providing many contours, I hope will add to the perspective of all our viewers, to our young audience here and everyone watching this in India and the 43 countries where this is being telecast. Thank you very much for being part of our first national election debate. Thank you. Thank you very much all. Thank you.